Never Let Go has a pretty cool premise. It follows a single mother living in an isolated house in the woods with her two sons, and the conceit is that inside the house they're safe, but if they go outside the house, they have to be tied to the house with a rope, otherwise they're vulnerable to the evil, which is this unnamed entity that lives in the woods. The whole thing is presented kind of like a fairy tale with a simple moral: never let go of the rope. And I think with a premise like this, it had the potential to be really great. Unfortunately though, the movie ends up taking its own advice. It never lets go of the safety rope for long enough to do anything really dangerous or interesting. And because it won't take the risks it needs to, the rewards it has to offer are limited. The movie isn't bad by any means. I love the location they chose to shoot at. The simple house in the woods looks great and sets a great atmosphere. And like I stated earlier, I also love the way the premise is presented as a fairy tale. It allows the movie to explore how these three human characters respond to essentially a mythical scenario, and that leads to some really great scenes and moments, which makes it all the more disappointing when the movie goes where it does at the end. Much like a fairy tale, the story eventually comes to a split in the road where there's a few paths it could take. And as far as I can tell, it chooses the safest and least interesting middle road that it possibly can. And that leads to an ending that just really spoils the potential that this movie had. Because it ends on the note that it does, it also leads me to reflect on the rest of the movie more negatively. Many elements that I would have been more forgiving toward, like the very standard presentation of the scares and the slightly stilted dialogue, end up being bigger sore spots for me. The ending also opens up a lot of questions that I wish I didn't have to ask because they bring down the quality of the film in retrospect. Yeah, this could have been a really awesome movie that people would have been talking about for years to come, but while I wish it wasn't the case, its commitment to playing things safe will probably mean that it will be pretty quickly forgotten. In my opinion, it's a 5 out of 10.